Hey guys, it's Sarah from the blog RockyHedgeFarm.com, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how to take a tablecloth and turn it into a Japanese style apron. One of the goals I set for myself this year was to become a better seamstress. I know a lot of the basic details, but I don't know as much as I want to know. So I actually took a class earlier this year that taught me how to make the Japanese style apron. And my friend Nancy actually teaches that class. She's local to me. She just opened a beautiful sewing studio. So I am very grateful for all that she taught me during that class, and I'm also very thankful that she was willing to let me pass on the things that I've learned to you guys so that you can also learn how to make one. So I'm going to be making my apron out of 100% linen, and this is a tablecloth that I just recently purchased, which I will link this for you guys below and where you can find one because it's a really good price for linen. But the first thing that you want to do is wash and dry this before you ever use it to make anything with. That way it's pre-shrunk when you go to use it. So this is a very simple tutorial. There's not a lot of supplies that you need, and if you can sew just a very basic straight line, if you know how to wind a bobbin, if you know how to thread a sewing machine, then this is definitely something that you can make as well. So here's the supplies that I'm going to be using today. I have thread that's going to match my linen fabric. I have a cutting board, a ruler to use on my cutting board, a bobbin. I also have a rotary cutter to use on cutting my fabric, and then pencil or pen and paper to write down some measurements, and a pair of scissors, and also an iron. So those are the basic things that you need other than a sewing machine in order to make this Japanese style apron. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is measure your bust line to get the inches that you need for the top of your apron. So you just measure right above your bust line, and whatever number you get is the number that you want to write down on your piece of paper. And then to that number you want to add anywhere from 8 to 10 inches, and that's just recommended so that you have plenty of room in your apron and it's not really tight on you. So for me, that's going to give me 50 inches across that I need my apron. Then you just need to figure out exactly how long you want it to be. So I have mine just below my knee, and if I measure up to my bust line, that's about 33 inches here. And then I'm going to add 3 inches, and that's just for my hem on the top and the bottom. And that gives me a total of 36 inches. So now I know how big my rectangle needs to be. My rectangle that I need to cut out of my linen fabric will need to be 50 by 36 inches. So the linen tablecloth actually already has a hemmed seam all the way around. So what I'm going to do is just go ahead and I'm going to cut that off. So to cut off this piece right here, I just line it up on my mat, and then I have my ruler here, and I'm just going to cut off that hem. And then you'll just want to flip your fabric over, and you'll want to do the same thing for the hem on the other end of the tablecloth. Just go ahead and cut it off as well. Then you will just have one section that is still hemmed, and go ahead and cut that off as well. And what you'll be left with is fabric that does not have any hem on it at all. Okay, so hopefully this step will make sense to you, but because I need my piece to measure 50 inches long by 36 inches, and my mat is only 18 by 24, what I have done is folded my fabric in half here, and then I folded it in half again. So what you want to do is make sure that your fabric is laid out as evenly as possible. And in order to get a straight edge, I'm going to make sure it's lined up on that 18 mark again for my measurements. And then I'm going to take my ruler and lay it so that I'm even right here on this mark and right here, which would essentially be the starting point for my measurements. So this is 0, and I'm measuring down 18 to give me that 36 inches right here when I unfold this. So I'm going to cut right along this line. And now when I open this up, my apron will be 36 inches long, which is what I need for my measurement. Okay, so now I have that 36-inch length that I need. And again, I measured from like my bust line here, and you can tell that it's just like right below my knee. And of course, we still have to figure our hem in. So the next step is I need to cut it to get the 50-inch length for around the top part of the apron. So since I have my 36-inch length for the apron, the next thing I'm going to do is just measure out how wide this piece of fabric is. Now you can lay your fabric down on the table and it'll be a lot easier. And I've already done mine, and I know mine is 56.5 inches. So I need to take off 6.5 inches in order to reach the 50 inches that I need for the rest of my pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and take off that extra 6.5 inches that I have on mine. And I have my fabric folded in half and my edge lined up as close as I possibly can get it. Then I'm just going to fold it in half again, keeping my edges lined up as much as possible, like this. And then with my ruler, I'm going to cut off 6.5 inches. Alright, so the main part of the apron is cut out. Mine is 50 inches by 36 inches, and I'm just going to set this aside, and the next thing we're going to do is get ready to cut out our straps. Okay, so for cutting the straps, I want to have a straight edge right here. So what I'm going to do is cut this excess off in order to get a straight edge that I need in order to make the straps. My straps are going to be 22 inches by 5 inches. So what I'm going to do is line up my ruler on the 7. And my fabric is already on the 2. So from 7 to 2 is 5 inches, and I'm going to cut my straps the 5 inches wide that I need. So this is the 5 inches wide that I need for my strap, and then I need it to be 22 inches long. So I'm just going to very carefully turn the fabric, and I'm going to start it right here and measure down to 11 and cut it on the 11. Because when I unfold this, since it's folded 2 times, it'll be 22 inches. Two straps that are going to be 22 inches by 5 inches, and you can set those aside while you get ready to cut your pockets. So the next step is to cut your pockets 9 inches by 10 inches. So I'm going to cut them 9 inches first, this direction. And then I'm just going to turn my fabric, place it up here at the top, and then cut it at 10 inches. Again, making sure that my ruler's lined up at the 10 there and the 10 down here on the bottom. I actually folded my fabric in half, so that's why I have this excess. But now, if I just pull these apart right here, I have 2 pockets that are 10 inches by 9 inches. Okay, so I have all of my pieces cut out, and hopefully you were able to follow along as I cut them. So remember, you measure your bust line, and then you add 8 to 10 inches depending upon the comfort ease of the fabric that you want as far as how loose your apron is. And I added 10 inches to mine. And then you'll also have your straps. So each one should measure 22 inches by 5 inches. And then you should have 2 pockets, and they should measure 10 inches by 9 inches. And now it's time to start ironing and sewing all of this together. Okay, so I'm going to start with the 36-inch length of my apron. So what I'm going to do is actually fold this over about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to press it down with the iron. Now you might be able to eyeball 1/2 inch if you've been sewing for a while, but also feel free to use your measuring tape and just lay it at the edge and fold up about 1/2 inch. And you're going to do this all along that shorter edge of your apron. unfortunately, my iron leaks just a little bit, so you'll see some wet spots. But once you have that 1/2 inch folded over the first time, you're gonna fold it over again a second time and press it again. The next step that you're gonna do is you're gonna go to your sewing machine, and that edge that you just pressed, you're now going to sew that down. So my side is finished, and I have my fabric the right side down on my towel that I'm ironing on. So now I'm just gonna fold this approximately 1 inch down, and then I'm just gonna iron that down. And you're gonna do 1 inch all the way across the top. So once you have that pressed down 1 inch, you're actually just gonna go ahead and take it and turn it another inch and press it down again. What I've done is the sides, the shortest side of the apron has been turned down 1/2 inch, turned down another 1/2 inch, and sewn. And that's both sides of the shortest side of the apron. And then at the top of the apron, the longest part, I've turned it down 1 inch, ironed, and then turned it down another inch. Now it's time to work on the strap, so I'm just gonna set this piece aside for right now. Okay. For the straps, my fabric, this isn't really gonna matter, but if you had a printed fabric, you would wanna fold right sides together. Again, for this linen, it doesn't really matter. So again, these are the 22 inch by 5 inch pieces that we cut for the shoulder straps. So I'm just gonna fold mine in half and iron this part down. Want to do that for both pieces. Then what I'm going to do is go to the machine, and on this side that's not together, I'm just going to sew a 1/2 inch seam right down the edge right here. I will go ahead and back stitch both the top and the bottom of this strap. Then you'll want to go ahead and do the same thing for your second strap. And then the next step that you'll want to do is to turn your straps inside out. So there's a couple of different ways that you can turn these straps inside out. I just tuck mine up in there and start pulling the fabric through. Once you have the first one done, you want to go ahead and do the second one. These can take a little bit of time to figure out if you've never done this before, but just stick with it. It's pretty easy to do once you get it going. Once you have your straps turned inside out, you want to lay them face down where the seam is in the middle on the back, and go ahead and just iron your strap flat. Once you have your straps ironed down, now comes the part of putting it together on the apron. So this next step can get a little bit confusing, so I'll try to explain it as simple as I can. So this is the top part of your apron, and you're gonna turn it where it faces you. And you're gonna fold it in half to find the middle part of your apron. Once you find the center of your apron, the easiest thing to do is iron that down just a little bit so that you know exactly where the center is. Then go ahead and open your apron back up. And the top should be facing you, just as you can see here. So if you remember, you originally pressed it down 1 inch and then pressed it down another inch. Now we're gonna open it up so that you just have 1 inch pressed down like this. This is the center of the apron. And what you wanna do is take your measuring tape and measure over 3 inches from the center. Then you wanna take your first strap and place it 3 inches from the center. The very edge of it should be 3 inches, just like you see here. Go ahead and pin that in place. And you want to make sure that your strap, the line that's on the back, is facing up. And then you want to do the same on the other side. You're going to measure over 3 inches from the center. Take your strap with the line facing up and place it at 3 inches from the middle as well. And go ahead and pin that on. Here's where it can get just a little bit confusing, because what you're going to want to do is take this strap, the one on this side, and it crosses over to the opposite side. And you want to line it up just like this. And then go ahead and pin it in place. Take your other strap and do the same thing. It'll come to the other side and you'll line it up with the seam, just like I show you here. And then go ahead and pin this one in place as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the machine and I'm just going to sew right along this line right here. Okay, so once I'm at the machine, again, I'm just gonna sew right down this line, just a simple stitch to hold this in place. Once I have this stitched down, what I'm going to do now is, starting at this end, I'm simply going to fold this down so that my ends line up, and the strap will now be like this. So it's folded down. You can see right here how it's folded down, but then the strap comes up, and I'm going to pin that in place. And you want to make sure that these right here are even, your edges. Those need to stay even. And then just pin this in place. So then, working your way down, just go ahead and keep folding that inch back down like you had it before. Once I'm back at the machine, what I'm gonna do is just line the edge of my foot up with this edge of the fabric right here. And again, don't sew over your pins. You wanna make sure that you remove those. And here I will back stitch just to hold this firmly in place. So after you have sewn the bottom part down right here, you're just gonna move your fabric to the top section and you're gonna sew along the edge at the top. When you're finished sewing the bottom and the top, if you flip over and look at the front of the apron, this is what it should look like. Okay, so once you have that finished, you actually have the hardest part of the apron done. Now it's time to construct the pockets. So for the pockets, you're going to want to fold the top edge over 1 inch. And I use a measuring tape sometimes just to make sure I have it right. And you're gonna iron down that top 1 inch. Go ahead and fold it again. And iron it down. And then I'm gonna go to the machine and I'm just gonna sew this edge down right here. Okay, so I have that seam sewn down just like that, and now what I'm gonna do is lay it where that's face up, and I'm gonna turn these sides in 1/2 inch. And just iron it down. And you're gonna do that for all 3 sides of the pocket. Apron on and decide where you want your pocket placement. So the easiest way I have found to put these on is to hold it like this, put your head through, and then your arms. So here's the front part of the apron, and then this is what the back looks like. So now we'll just decide where to put the pockets. For pocket placement, I try to think about how far down I want my hands to go into the pockets and whether I want them kind of set off to the side, whether I want them more in the middle, and that's just gonna be a personal preference. So for this part, you may need somebody to kind of help you hold the pocket in place, but what you'll wanna do is just take the pocket and kind of decide where you want it to go. So for me, it's probably gonna be about right here. And since I'm doing this on my own, I'm just gonna go ahead and take the pocket and pin it in place the best I can. And I'll show you how to measure this out here in a minute, so don't worry about getting it exact. You just kind of want to get this one pocket where it feels comfortable. Okay, so now that I have that pinned in, I can put my hands in there, and I think that's gonna be a really good location for my pocket. So what I'm gonna do is take the apron off and then show you guys how to measure these so that you get both of them even on each side. Okay, so this is the bottom of my apron, and the easiest way to make sure that you get your pocket exactly where you want it is to measure over from the edge. So I need my pocket about 11 inches from the edge. And so I just measure out, and I need to move mine over just a little bit. And get it to right about 11 inches. And that's about right. So this corner is correct. And then for me, I know that from my hem line, I want it to be about 10 inches. So I'm just gonna move it down to the top of the tape measure right here, of my measuring tape, and have it at about 10 inches. And then I'm gonna go back to the top and I'm gonna check and make sure that I still have my top at about 11 inches. And it is. So I'm gonna pin this in place because I have it where I want it. And then I just lay my fabric back out, and I'm gonna measure this bottom corner to make sure that it's 11 inches from the edge as well. And it is right there, so I'm gonna go ahead and pin this in place. Same with the bottom measurement now. I wanna make sure that I'm still at about 10 inches on all areas at the bottom. And I am, so I'm good there. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin the pocket the rest of the way down. So I have this pocket exactly where I want it. And now the next step is to go to the other side of the apron and do the same thing with that pocket. It should be 11 inches from the side and 10 inches from the bottom. Once I'm sure that I have my 11 inches and my 10 inches here, I'm going to go ahead and pin this pocket on as well. After I get the pockets pinned in place, I'm going to do another try on to make sure that they're exactly where I want them, and then I'll figure out how much of a hem I need. Pocket placement. It's deep enough that I can put things in and that my hands can go down to the bottoms and get whatever I need, and they look straight, so I know I have them where I need them to be. In order to stitch the pockets on, I am just lining the foot, this edge of it up, with the edge of my fabric right here and just sewing straight down until I get to the corner right here, and then I will show you guys how to do that corner. Okay, so once I come to this corner, what I'm going to do is just sew down a little ways, but not all the way to the corner. And then I'm going to lift my foot right here on the back and turn the fabric. And what this does is gives me a sharp corner and makes it look really nice as I sew. And then just put the foot back down and continue sewing to the next corner. And then the same thing with this corner. I won't sew all the way to the edge, just partly. And then I'm going to put the needle down, lift the foot, and turn the fabric. Put the foot back down and sew to the top of the pocket. And when you get to the top of the pocket right here, you'll want to back stitch to securely hold that in place. Okay, so both of the pockets have been sewn on, and the next step is to get the hem finished. So what I'm going to do is just lay my apron out face down on the towel, and I'm going to just fold mine up about 1/2 inch. Now yours may be a little bit different if you do a try on and decide that you want your apron a little bit shorter. But for me, I'm just going 1/2 inch. And then I'm just going to iron this down. pressed, you're just going to come back and press it another 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to finish up the apron by just taking this to the machine, and I am going to stitch the hem down, and I will have a finished apron. So I just finished up the hem on the apron, and like a lot of the other areas, I just used the machine to sew a straight line right down the edge. And now that I'm finished with the apron, I'm just going to go through and clip any of the loose strings that I might have. And you'll want to look on the front and the back of the apron in order to get all of them. Alright, so I just finished up the bottom hem, and here's a look at the final product. Video, and hopefully it's easy enough that you can understand it and follow along with the directions. I really enjoy wearing both of my Japanese style aprons since I've made 2 of them. I use them in the garden and around the home as well. And if you don't feel confident enough in making your own, or don't even want to attempt, then head on over to the blog and I will provide you a link where you can actually purchase one. I am also teamed up with 2 other fantastic bloggers, Chloe over at Boxwood Avenue and Sarah at She Holds Dearly. So please take a moment to stop by these ladies' blogs and their YouTube channels to see what they have created from the linen tablecloth. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate you guys stopping by and taking the time to watch this video. Don't forget to visit the blog at rockyhedgefarm.com, and you can also hit subscribe below to stay up to date on all the latest happenings here at the farm. Have a great day, guys.